Emile Alphonse Griffith was a professional boxer from the U.S. Virgin Islands who won world titles in 3 weight divisions. He held the world light middleweight, undisputed welterweight, and middleweight titles. His best-known contest was a 1962 title match with Benny Paret. Griffith won the bout by knockout. Paret never recovered consciousness, and died in the hospital 10 days later. In 1963 and 1964, Griffith was voted Fighter of the Year by the Ring magazine and the Boxing Writers Association of America. In 2002, he was listed number 33 on Ring magazine's list of 80 greatest fighters of the past 80 years. Griffith currently ranks number 127 in BoxRec's ranking of the greatest pound-for-pound boxers of all time. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in the inaugural class of 1990. As a teen, he was working at a hat factory on a steamy day when his boss, the factory owner, agreed to Griffith's request to work shirtless. When the owner, a former amateur boxer, noticed his frame, he took Griffith to trainer Gil Clancy's gym. Griffith won the 1958 New York Golden Gloves 147 pounds Open Championship. Griffith defeated Osvaldo Marcano of the Police Athletic League's Lynch Center in the finals to win the championship. In 1957, Griffith advanced to the finals of the 147-pound sub-novice division, and was defeated by Charles Wormley of the Salem Crescent Athletic Club. Griffith trained at the West 28th Street Parks Department Gym in New York City. Griffith turned professional in 1958, and fought frequently in New York City. He captured the welterweight title from Cuban Benny the Kid Paret by knocking him out in the 13th round on April 1, 1961. 6 months later, Griffith lost the title to Paret in a narrow split decision. Griffith regained the title from Paret on March 24, 1962, in the controversial bout after which Paret died, see below. Griffith waged a classic 4-fight series with Luis Rodriguez, losing their second fight, and winning the other 3. He defeated middleweight contender Holly Mims but was knocked out in 1 round by Ruben Hurricane Carter. 3 years later, on April 25, 1966, he faced middleweight champion Dick Tiger, and won a 15-round unanimous decision, and the middleweight title. He also lost, regained, and then lost the middleweight crown in 3 classic fights with Nino Benvenuti. But many boxing fans believed he was never quite the same fighter after Paret's death. From the Paret bout to his retirement in 1977, Griffith fought 80 bouts but only scored 12 knockouts. He later admitted to being gentler with his opponents, and relying on his superior boxing skills because he was terrified of killing someone else in the ring. Many thought that Griffith fought past his prime, only winning 9 of his last 23 fights. Other boxers whom he fought in his career included world champions American Denny Moyer, Cuban Luis Rodriguez, Argentine Carlos Monzon, Cuban Jose Napoles, and in his last title try, German Eckhard Daga. After 18 years as a professional boxer, Griffith retired with a record of 85 wins, 25 by knockout, 24 losses, and 2 draws. Griffith and Paret's third fight, which was nationally televised by ABC, occurred on March 24, 1962, at Madison Square Garden. Griffith had been incensed by an anti-gay slur directed at him by Paret during the weigh-in. Paret touched Griffith's buttocks, and whispered into his opponent's ear maricón, Spanish slang for faggot. Griffith had worked in a women's hat factory, and at the time designed hats. Griffith had to be restrained from attacking Paret on the spot. The media at the time either ignored the slur or used euphemisms such as anti-man. Griffith's girlfriend asked him about the incident, saying, "I didn't know about you being that way." In the 6th round, Paret came close to stopping Griffith with a multi-punch combination, but Griffith was saved by the bell. After the 6th round, Griffith's trainer, Gil Clancy, later said he told him, "When you go inside, I want you to keep punching until Paret holds you or the referee breaks you. But you keep punching until he does that." In round 12, Griffith trapped Paret in a corner. Stunned after taking hard blows to the head, Paret stopped punching back, and slumped to the side against the ropes, although his upper body was through them, and partly out of the ring. Griffith held his opponent's shoulder, keeping him in position while using his free hand to hit Paret, who was no longer trying to protect himself by head movement or an arm guard. Griffith repeatedly landed right uppercuts on Paret's head. Many watching were shocked, and there were calls from ringside for the referee to halt the bout. Norman Mailer said it was the hardest he had ever seen one man hit by another. Paret then lolled back, and was hit with a combination. At this point, Ruby Goldstein stepped in, thereby awarding Griffith a win by technical knockout. Immediately after the referee intervened, Paret, who had remained on his feet throughout, slowly slid to the floor. He was carried from the ring on a stretcher, and died 10 days later in hospital without regaining consciousness. Goldstein had a reputation as a tender-minded referee who stopped bouts at an early stage. Admirers said he may have been suffering after effects from a heart attack. Paret's manager was also criticized for not retiring his boxer with a timely throwing in of the towel during the beating. Griffith told a television interviewer, "I'm very proud to be the welterweight champion again. I hope Paret is feeling very good." When the seriousness of the situation became known, Griffith went to the hospital where Paret was being treated, and unsuccessfully attempted for several hours to gain entry to Paret's room. Following that, he ran through the streets while being insulted by passers-by. He would later receive hate mail from Paret's supporters who were convinced Griffith intentionally killed Paret. New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller created a 7-man commission to investigate the incident, and the sport. Griffith reportedly felt guilt over Paret's death, and suffered nightmares about Paret for 40 years. The fight, and the widespread publicity, and criticism of boxing which accompanied it, became the basis of the 2005 documentary Ring of Fire, The Emile Griffith Story. Griffith trained other boxers, including Wilfred Benitez, and Juan Laporte of Puerto Rico. Both won world championships. Griffith, Monzon, Benvenuti, Rodriguez, Tiger, Napoles, and Benitez are members of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. In 1979–80, he was in Denmark serving as the coach of the Danish Olympic boxing team. In 1971, 2 months after they met, Griffith married another Virgin Islander, Mercedes Sadie Donastorg, who was then a member of the dance troupe Prince Rupert, and the Slave Girls. Griffith adopted Donastorg's daughter, but the marriage only lasted a few months. After retiring from boxing, Griffith worked as a corrections officer at the Secaucus, New Jersey juvenile detention facility. In 1992, Griffith was viciously beaten, and almost killed on a New York City street after leaving a gay bar near the Port Authority bus terminal. He was in the hospital for 4 months after the assault. It was not clear if the violence was motivated by homophobia. Griffith was bisexual, quoted in Sports Illustrated as saying, "I like men, and women both. But I don't like that word, homosexual, gay or faggot. I don't know what I am. I love men, and women the same, but if you ask me which is better, I like women." A longtime resident of Weehawken, New Jersey, Griffith died July 23, 2013, at a care facility in Hempstead, New York. In his final years, he required full-time care, and suffered from dementia pugilistica. His adopted son, Luis Rodrigo Griffith, was his primary caregiver. He was buried in St. Michael's Cemetery, Queens, New York City. In January 2005, filmmakers Dan Klors and Ron Berger premiered their documentary Ring of Fire, The Emile Griffith Story at the Sundance Film Festival in Utah. It was broadcast on television on USA Network. Griffith's December 20, 1963 bout with Reuben Carter, which Griffith lost, is depicted in the opening scene of the 1999 motion picture The Hurricane. Griffith is portrayed by former boxer Terry Claiborne, while actor Denzel Washington stars as Carter. In May 2012 it was announced that trumpeter Terence Blanchard and playwright Michael Christopher were working on the opera Champion, based on Griffith's story. It premiered at Opera Theatre of St. Louis on June 15, 2013. Irish director Lenny Abramson is working on a biopic focusing on Griffith's rivalry with Paret to be released in 2019. A stage play based on Griffith's story, titled Brown Girl in the Ring, premiered on September 26, 2016, in Chicago. It was commissioned and produced by the Court Theatre. A stage play based on Griffith's story, titled Man in the Ring, premiered on November 16, 2018, at the Huntington Theatre in Boston. Griffith has a professional record of 112 fights, with 85 wins, 24 losses, 2 draws, and 1 no contest.